Hi, I'm Kaylin. This is Biscuit and this is Poppy Seed, and we used to live in a van. But on March 5th of 2022, my van crashed and rolled over. Everything in the van was destroyed. The van was destroyed. I thought that like my life was over. That was my home, but the van life community showed me how much they loved and supported me by starting some GoFundMes. I don't know what I did to become the recipient of this kind of outpouring of goodness and kindness, but I don't intend to waste it. I have decided to start this YouTube channel to document the next phase, the rebuilding of my life. Like, look at this. I bought a school bus. Ready to get started?
Yep.
Onward and upward, baby! Just for my Maxx air fan, I came up here on the roof with the like inside plate thing, and I traced it and took a tape measure and made sure all the measurements were correct with a Sharpie, marked out where my fan is gonna go. Because of the way that things lay out on my roof with trying to maximize my solar panels and my roof deck while still having my AC unit and my Maxx air fan, it's really, really tight. I have to get this just right. All right, now that we've got 4 small holes in our roof, we need to go and make sure that we block off this spot down below so we know where it is, so that we can collect all of the metal shavings and they won't just get all over the bus. So this is one of the heavy-duty trash bags that I used to throw all of my stuff in after my van crashed. Pro tip, always make sure to take your duct tape up to the roof with you next. This is why we bring the duct tape, because when you get to this point, it's gonna start shaking like crazy and it's gonna make it really hard to cut a straight line. So you just kind of duct tape it back together a little bit. Whew, okay. There we go. This isn't like absolutely necessary, but it really does make this last cut so much easier. All right, we've got a hole in the roof. All right, we just need to clean up our corners a bit. All right, now we've got our lovely, disgusting friend, butyl tape. I honestly hate working with this stuff, but you know what? It's part of van building, so here we go. Oh God, this stuff's it's even stickier than I remember. So butyl tape is like a clay gluey material that like is a really good sealant, is kind of the bottom line here. So when you like squash down the fan on top of this, it like creates a pretty watertight seal. Big old stack of butyl tape. It is in there. Here I'm just pre-drilling all of my holes through the existing holes that the Maxx air fan comes with, and that will allow me to insert my screws really easily. All right, now we've just got a Phillips head bit. You may notice I'm going around gradually rather than, you know, starting in one place and going all the way around. That's because it just helps even out like the tension on the thing. Okay, a pro tip, you don't want all of this extra butyl tape sticking out, because then when you seal this edge, this butyl tape doesn't dry the way that your silicone does. This stuff is going to stay elastic, gluey. And so you want to get rid of this, because if you don't, then with your silicone sitting on top of it, this could move and it could take the silicone with it. The wires are going to be like shoved in the side here. You want to make sure you remove those and stuff them down inside the bus or van or whatever it is you are working on. I ran out of daylight for filming, but the final step here is just to open up the fan's rain guard to give you space, and then screw 2 screws in on the sides of the fan to connect it to the base. My next rooftop project is installing my air conditioning unit. Now, this unit weighs about 90 pounds, which was just way too heavy for me to try to get up on the roof by myself. So here's my dad, uncle, and cousin helping me lift it up by standing on my uncle's boat trailer, and I'm on top making sure to, you know, grab it and stabilize it when it gets up there. This was honestly the hardest part of the entire install for this AC unit. This is a 2x2 sheet of 16 gauge steel that we are going to use to fill in the emergency hatch space on the roof. So first we have to rust proof this. We're gonna start by just like roughing it up with some sandpaper so that the paint has something to stick to. I got this Rust Tough spray paint, primer stuff. Make sure you get the edges really good, because that's where rust is going to happen first. Isn't it ironic that they made this rust preventative paint the color of rust? Seems counterintuitive. Anyway, let's wait for that one to dry. The reason that we are covering up that emergency hatch hole, we have to convert it to a 14 by 14 inch hole, which is what is kind of standard for RV roof vents and fans and ceiling things. But the current hole is like 22 by 22, so we have to cover it up and then cut a new hole in this piece of metal. What we are putting in the new hole is an air conditioning unit. RV air conditioning units are really, really expensive, and they can only be run on shore power, typically. But I have decided, for a few reasons, that having an AC unit makes a lot of sense in this build. And the first reason is that I'm building this bus out in Alabama, where it's hot, like really, really hot. And having this is going to make it really like so much easier for me to do this build and stay here in Alabama. And it is still true that I'm gonna need shore power to run it, but I'm spending the next 6 months or so at least here on the East Coast. And on the East Coast, I have a lot of friends and family. I've lived my entire life on the East Coast until van life. And so I'm really used to the East Coast. I know a lot of people out here, and so finding shore power hookups among friends and family is like not going to be difficult. The second reason is that like I have pets, and I also have health conditions that mean my body is much worse at regulating its own temperature than most people's bodies are. Having this as just like an option to go to an RV park and hook up to shore power and run the AC unit on a particularly hot day will just like make me feel a lot better about my cat's safety and my own safety with my chronic illnesses, just like having this as a backup option. And the third reason that I have decided to put an AC unit in is that I found one secondhand for $300 and it's worth more than $1,000 new. So I got a really good deal on it, and it's essentially like at that point the price of a Maxx air fan. Don't step on that, don't step on it, don't step on it. All right, while that Rust-Oleum dries, we have to remove the emergency hatch itself. All right, well, the camera fell right as I was getting the shot, but there's a big hole in the roof. Woo! The AC unit is in. It doesn't work yet because I still need one more like interior part to come in. It didn't come with the secondhand one that I got. They had a different interior part than the one that I need. We have installed the replacement plate over the emergency hatch, and then we installed the AC unit in that spot. I'm so excited! Thank you guys so much for watching this week's episode of my DIY Skoolie build. Make sure to like and subscribe and come back next week to see how I built the structure for my rooftop deck.